So Manchester United are off and running. Jose Mourinho has obtained his first Premier League points of the season. Manchester United have 3 points on the Premier League board and the Premier League is now underway, ladies and gentlemen. And this is a match review of events that took place at Old Trafford as Manchester United entertained Leicester in the opening night of the Premier League. And this is the first Premier League video of the brand new season for my YouTube channel. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, my World Cup content has concluded. We are now commencing my Premier League content, and we start, as I said, with a match review. I'm going to be reviewing tonight's Premier League match and giving you my thoughts and feelings to the game at Old Trafford. We've got analysing Arsenal this weekend, and I just also want to say, ladies and gentlemen, before we jump into this match review, that I did try to record my Premier League predictions video. I made a prediction video to predict which 20 Premier League sides and where they were going to finish, and I recorded the video, I did all the editing, and I got right to the end of it. I was watching it back just before I was about to upload it, and it was basically, and the better word that I can use for this, it was basically absolutely shite. So I'm not going to upload it because I just wasn't happy with it whatsoever. What I am going to do, however, is I'm going to put out my Premier League prediction table on my social medias. They're probably going to be out like late tonight or early tomorrow. I'll leave the links to them down in the description below. So if you want to see my Premier League prediction table in full, go over to my social medias. But let's start by reviewing tonight's match as Manchester United entertained Leicester on the first Friday night football of the season, and match day one, game number one in the Premier League. And you know, this was a very, very interesting game. And it was a very interesting game. Not just the game, you know, over the 90 minutes was interesting, but the actual build-up and, you know, going into it, there was a lot of interesting stories and kind of lots of, you know, different kind of events that were kind of, you know, flowing into kind of the proceedings. And there was a lot of animosity in around Old Trafford. There was a lot of talk around the Manchester United side. There was a lot of talk about Leicester City, and this gave us the first real inkling into what we were going to see. And from, you know, Manchester United's point of view, you know, they finished second last season. They were 19 points off of Manchester City, but, you know, there was no Premier League team in the land that got anywhere, you know, close to Manchester City. So, you know, on paper, you take Manchester City out of the equation, who were in a league of their own. Manchester United, statistically, were the best side in last season's Premier League campaign. And, you know, they have just had an absolutely ridiculous in a very negative sort of ridiculous way. They've had an absolutely kind of shocking summer, really. Obviously, you know, this summer has been very, very short. There's been a lot of disruption to it because of the World Cup. But just Manchester United, there's been so much negativity and so much, you know, hostility shown to Manchester United. And just, you know, it's Jose Mourinho written all over, really. You know, he didn't make a substantial sign. Obviously, they've, you know, signed Fred, who made his debut tonight. They haven't signed a world-class kind of, you know, high-caliber, top-class. Either they were trying to go for, like, Alderweireld was mentioned, you know, Maguire was mentioned, you know, Ramos was mentioned. You know, they had so many, like, you know, Boateng they tried to sign from Bayern. You know, they tried to get so many of these high-class, top-caliber, you know, defensive players. They tried to get all of these kind of big, you know, heavy-class kind of strikers, and they didn't get anyone, really. And Jose Mourinho has spent his summer whinging and moaning and whining, and, you know, it's like history is repeating itself, because, you know, this is Jose Mourinho's third season. You know, there's a fear that this is going to be third season syndrome. You know, not only has Jose Mourinho never won a league title in his third season at any club he has been with, but he normally gets sacked in his third season. So, you know, he has this transitional kind of first season. His second season is always his best, and then he always fucks it up in the third season. You only have to look back to the 2015-16 Chelsea Premier League campaign season, fresh off the back of being Premier League champions. You know, they were crowned Premier League champions in May of 2015, and in December of 2015, Jose Mourinho was sacked. And, you know, he brought just a whirlwind of problems to Chelsea, and there's a feeling that he's going to do the same for Manchester United. So it's absolutely vital that Manchester United got off to a winning start against Leicester. Leicester City themselves, still under the management of Claude Puel. They've made a couple of decent signings themselves. The biggest one that I noticed tonight was Maddison, who looked very, very promising. He almost plays as like a striker, just in behind the. So tonight he played just in behind the Iheanacho, but he could play as a striker. He was playing as a central attacking midfielder. Obviously, Riyad Mahrez is gone. He's gone to Manchester City. Jamie Vardy started on the bench for Leicester City, and as for Manchester United, they had their new signing of Fred make his Premier League debut. They had Mata, they had Rashford, they had Sanchez, and they had Paul Pogba, who was not just starting the season, but he was captaining tonight. He was the Manchester United captain. And there's a lot of talk surrounding Paul Pogba after what he did at the World Cup for France. And, this is the season where the Manchester United kind of fans and Jose Mourinho wants to see the real Paul Pogba. And the game got underway tonight, and it took 2 minutes 28 seconds before we saw the first goal be acquired in the Premier League, and it all came from a penalty. I mean, it was a fast game. In kind of the general level, from a general kind of perspective, it was a very, very fast game. Manchester United, flew out of the blocks. They started very, very quickly. They were pressing Leicester City, and it's kind of the first kind of 8 to 10 minutes, the first kind of 10 to 15 minutes of the game, Manchester United were just absolutely dominating. They were going forward, they were breaking away, and they weren't just trying to, once they got the ball, once they snatched the ball off Leicester, they weren't doing this, kind of typical sideways, backwards kind of passing, which, started to be a pattern that came, later on during the game. But in those early stages, what was, really encouraging to see from a Manchester United's perspective is that they were winning the ball back in high areas. They were pressing Leicester in the high areas, and not only were they just, passing it around, their first kind of initial thought was to attack, and they were constantly doing that, and they kept going forward upon forward upon forward, and it all came from an attack, really, as Sanchez put to whip a ball in. It then hit the hand of Amati. It was a penalty because he had time. He had at least 3 to 4 seconds of getting his hand away. The ball hit his hand, and it was given as a straight penalty. And obviously, Paul Pogba was going to be the man to step up. There was a kind of a quick and frank discussion between Alexis Sanchez and Paul Pogba onto who was going to take the penalty. I mean, Paul Pogba was the captain tonight, and he went over to Sanchez and basically said, "Look, mate, I'm on this, I'm taking this, I'm the captain, I'm doing this." And he stepped up, and he did indeed do it. He slotted it in to the right-hand side. Schmeichel went the right way, but he just couldn't get anywhere near. It was an absolutely brilliant penalty, and what a start for Manchester United, who took the lead and were 1-up inside 3 minutes. And at that stage, you're sitting there and thinking to yourself, is this going to be one of those games where Manchester United are just going to dominate, are going to get a comfortable win, and it's going to be a plain sailing night for Jose Mourinho and his Red Devils? Well, no. It wasn't really, because after Manchester United took the lead, and they had a couple of decent chances here or there, Leicester City turned up, and I was really impressed with Leicester tonight. I mean, looking at the overall stats, they had more possession, they had more chances. Manchester United were a bit more clinical because they created more shots on target, and they converted more shots than Leicester City and turned those shots into goals. But Leicester's overall play was very, very encouraging. What I really like about Claude Puel is that, you associate Leicester with being, true counter-attacking, a counter-attacking kind of, team that has that style of getting the ball back and counter-attacking their opposition. They are happy to allow the opposition to, smother them, almost to a point, to smother them, to make them, and let's see, soak up the pressure, and then when they win the ball back, their first thought is to go up the other end of the score. But Claude Puel is trying to, get away from that idea, because even though the mythology of that, got Leicester City and, gave us the most incredible English story ever told, and they won the Premier League title in the 2015-16 campaign through playing counter-attacking football, Claude Puel doesn't want to play like that, because, that was a very special season, and that was a very kind of isolated incident, the likes of which we're never ever going to see again. So, he plays much more of a passing style football. And actually, in retrospect to the kind of fact that both Manchester United and Leicester play very similar. It's very kind of sideways passing, pass and move, and then when they get the space, when they get into kind of that open space, they then make the chance and then they score the goal, getting into those kind of spaces. But I have to say that Leicester kind of really dominated in kind of, towards the latter stage of the first half. Manchester United had a couple of half chances, but they didn't really cause Schmeichel too many problems, and that can be the same said for Leicester. I mean, David De Gea pulled off a couple of really good saves over the whole 90 minutes, but even though Leicester City were dominating and creating more chances, they weren't clear-cut chances, and they weren't really scaring Manchester United. From kind of, if you're going to break down the game, the first kind of 15 minutes was all Manchester United. From 15 minutes to half-time, it was mainly all Leicester City, with a couple of half chances from Manchester United. And then when the second half got underway, another quick start from Manchester United, which they almost doubled their lead just on the other side of half-time. And that was a chance through Alexis Sanchez. And then it was kind of in the second half, Manchester United would have a chance, then Leicester would have a chance, and but they weren't really clear-cut chances. Romelu Lukaku came on in the second half, didn't really do too much. It was a great chance where Sanchez put the ball across, and Lukaku was 1-on-1 with Schmeichel, and he just didn't get his bearings. He got his feet in a muddle, and he just hit the ball and put it up and over. And then in the kind of towards the final 15 minutes, Manchester United got themselves a goal, and Luke Shaw gets his first ever competitive goal for Manchester United. He had a really good chance in the early stages of the second half, which it kind of, as he went for the shot, it just kind of went slightly wide. He was trying to bend it into that right-hand corner, and it just went slightly out. Well, he did it again. The ball went over the top again from Alexis Sanchez to Luke Shaw down the left-hand side. Fortune favoured him in this area because he got past the Leicester City left-back. I believe he was up against, I think it was either Chilwell or Marcy. I'm pretty sure it was Chilwell. And, Chilwell kind of got himself in a muddle, and that allowed Luke Shaw just to get ahead of him. And then he got quite fortunate because the way that he bent the shot, Schmeichel couldn't get a hand to it. So again, it went down into the right-hand side. And, Manchester United got the second goal on the 83rd minute, and that was essentially game over, really. However, finally, Leicester gave Manchester United a little bit of a late scare. There was 4 minutes of added time. In the 92nd minute, Jamie Vardy, who came on in the latter stages of the second half, got Leicester City a moment to, potentially save themselves. He gave them a chance. It was, a chance, but it was, he gave them hope. And it all came from a ball that was whipped in over the cross, and then a header went in. David De Gea made the save, it then fell back to Vardy, who headed it in. He was onside. It was a really nice the way that kind of, Jamie Vardy just held his run, and he kept onside, and then he headed it home. And then in the last kick of the game, Leicester City got a corner in the 94th minute. Kasper Schmeichel came up, the corner went in, Schmeichel actually won the header, and I thought for a moment he was going to actually put it into the back of the net. I thought for a moment he got the header, but it just went a little bit wide. And at that stage, the game was done and dusted. So, all in all, it wasn't a comfortable performance for Manchester United. I think Leicester really played, very, very well. As I said, they, dominated the ball for large, sections of the game. They created chances. Manchester United were more clinical. It was one of those opening nights where Manchester United were expected to win. They started out really well. They had a very, very good start. But, they aren't the finished article yet, and it wasn't a perfect win by any means. But, you are a great side if you don't play at full throttle and still, get over the line. And, it will give Jose Mourinho some peace of mind. It means that Manchester United now, for the rest of the weekend, can just sit back, relax, and watch what the other big sides do. And, I don't think, and you'll see from my prediction table that I'll put out on social media, I don't think Manchester United are going to win the Premier League this season, nor do I think that they're going to be title contenders. I still don't think they're actually going to make it into the top 4, personally. I don't think their squad is anywhere near strong enough when you look and kind of, compare it to the other big sides. I just think that Manchester United are just, they're the makers of their own problems. I think Jose Mourinho, you're going to see a season of him whinging, moaning, whining, crying, and, I'd be, absolutely surprised and shocked to see him, if I was sitting here at the end of the season doing my Premier League season review, if I was sitting here and still saying that Jose Mourinho is still the Manchester United manager, I don't think that's going to happen, but, you know, it's going to be a very interesting season. You know, that's not to say that Manchester United could get into the top 4, because they could. And, you know, what is so interesting about this new Premier League campaign is that the top 6 is going to be the most intense top 6 battle I think we're ever going to see. You know, all of the big boys have strengthened. You know, you've got new managers for Chelsea, for Arsenal, you've got Liverpool, you know, being so strong. You've got Manchester City, the team to beat. You've got Spurs, who are consistently into that top 6. So, you know, it's going to be very interesting. I don't know where Manchester United are going to finish, but out of all of the top 6 sides, you know, I do think that they get, you know, slightly kind of undeserved kind of criticism. I don't think the criticism that is thrown towards Manchester United is particularly fair, but I don't think Jose Mourinho helps himself, and I do think that they're at least 2 to 3 players short of being the real deal. And whether they can kind of, you know, I think the big key is Paul Pogba. Obviously, you know, Jose Mourinho wants him to, you know, be the Pogba that we saw at the World Cup. I mean, the reason that he made him captain isn't because he wants to see the Paul Pogba that we saw at the World Cup. I mean, that is, you know, to a certain degree that could be one of the reasons, but mainly it's because he doesn't want him to go to Barcelona, and there's been all of this talk that Paul Pogba is going to move away, so he wants to give him responsibility. And I think to get the best out of Paul Pogba, you've got to, you know, say to him, look, you're the man, you're the captain, you have got to be the one that makes the difference. And I mean, if they can get the best out of Paul Pogba, Manchester United are dangerous. And under Jose Mourinho, a man who knows what it means to win a Premier League title, and knows what it means to get a Premier League title, and knows how to do it, you know, whether he can still do that now, it remains to be seen. But this is a big season for Manchester United, and it's going to be interesting, and it's one of those that only time will tell. You know, we're going to know in the next few weeks where Manchester United are, and just how good they're going to be. In regards to Leicester, I was impressed to see how they performed. I mean, last season they opened up the Premier League, you know, kind of season against Arsenal. They narrowly were beaten by Arsenal this time last year. Again, narrowly beaten by Manchester United, and on both of those occasions they've played very, very well. They're not going to get relegated. They're not going to break into kind of that Europa League kind of position. I think, you know, where you say probably Everton and West Ham are going to be, they are the teams that could potentially break into that Europa League place. I think Leicester City are going to finish around about 9th or 10th, round about kind of that area. They'll be completely fine. They're going to be one of the steady eddies of the season, in my opinion, and there won't be any problems. And I don't think you're going to see any two kind of major problems in relation to, you know, Leicester City this season. Obviously, losing Mahrez, you'd say that puts them at a disadvantage, but I don't think it does. I think they're going to be absolutely fine. And that is my match review of the first Premier League game, as Manchester United beat Leicester City by 2-1, and the Premier League is underway. My Premier League content is underway. Tomorrow, we have the Arsenal season preview, also looking to preview an Arsenal against Manchester City, and then analysing Arsenal returns on Sunday evening in my first match review of Unai Emery's first Premier League game as Arsenal entertain the leaders, the champions, Manchester City at the Emirates in the Premier League opening weekend. Find out my Premier League prediction table. I'll leave the links to those on my social medias in the description below. Give me your thoughts and feelings to tonight's game at Old Trafford. Also, let me know who you think is going to win the Premier League. Get involved in the conversation down in the comment section below. If you've really enjoyed this video, then please make sure to give it a like. I know I haven't done a lot of videos in the last kind of couple of weeks, and I'll be doing loads more videos and getting around to talking about the kind of, you know, status of the channel. But Premier League content is back, and also if you're brand new to my channel, then please make sure to subscribe. I do lots of football content, and that is going to be the sole focus of this YouTube channel for kind of, you know, the considerable amount of time. So, you know, for the near future, it is mainly going to be all football content, and it starts right now. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to get stuck into this. I will speak to you tomorrow. This is DJ Bagpuss signing out. Until next time, take care, and I shall speak to you all later. Take care, and I shall see you all very, very, very soon. See you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.